I'm not old enough to retire, but I am old enough to do something else. I can pivot. So I was preparing to pivot. And in that pivot, I didn't know what I was pivoting to. I just knew it was going to be a turn and I was going to sit for a minute and then figure life out. But once again, all you have to do is have a plan and just watch God laugh and go, okay, okay.
Hey, family. Today, our guest is Kelley Cornish, President and CEO of the T.D. Jakes Foundation. Kelley's a new friend for me, although I've admired her for a long time, and I'm phenomenally impressed with the work that she's done and the impact she's made. At the T.D. Jakes Foundation, she's leading efforts to expand economic mobility through workforce development and community transformation. Kelley made history as the first woman vice chairman in Wiley University's 152-year history, and she's used every platform to lift others up, from advocating for women in corporate America to now creating pathways to opportunities for entire communities. Today, Kelley and I are talking about what's required to lead with legacy in mind. Enjoy our conversation. Kelley, I'm so happy to have you here. Welcome, welcome to Ask JVH.
I am so, you're happy. I've been waiting for this for so long, because we just love each other. But this is we get to really talk here. So I'm excited. Thank you for having me. It's going to be a great conversation as always.
Yeah, and we really are going to talk. And you talk about welcoming you. I'm welcoming you into my husband's office in my North Carolina home, not a typical background. And you're welcoming me right into the heart of your home, your
Right,
kitchen.
right in the kitchen. I am right in the kitchen, and I love it. I know we were talking. You were
You
like, "Don't
got
put
your
it."
drink.
I
You
do
got your
absolutely.
drink.
I do.
Okay, so for
And
those who can't see us, who are just listening to us, we're drinking. Well, I'm drinking water. I don't
I
know.
am
Hers is
too.
clear.
Mine's sparkling. Mine is sparkling
Mm,
water, but it's water. Yes,
as is mine. As
yes,
is mine.
yes,
But
yes,
then
yes.
again, we're those kind of girls, right?
Absolutely.
Yeah, we're Southern girls at heart and at root. I mean, you often point back to your roots in Aiken, South Carolina, and
I
that's the
do.
place where your story began. So maybe that's where you should talk with us from. Your summers with your grandparents and church life and family
Yes.
all around you. Talk about that foundation and how it shaped this leader I'm speaking with today.
I would have never known growing up on a little dirt road in Aiken, South Carolina. It was actually so. Let me go just a step back. So, at the age of I was born in Augusta, Georgia. At the age of 2, my parents decided they want to move to New Jersey. So I actually my formative years were in the Atlantic City, Pleasantville, Brigantine, New Jersey area. And then by middle school, my parents were like, no, we're going back south. They were part of the Great Migration. They wanted to go back. Then it was like, let's go back home. So Georgia's home was home for my dad, and South Carolina is home for my mom. And so I found myself like literally we moved back. I was like, we live on a dirt road. Like it was a dirt road. And my mom was like, yes, it is. And we moved in with my grandmother, and as they say, the rest is history. I learned so much just about being involved in a community, being involved in my church, being raised by family. My cousins were a couple of blocks over. And I would say, Janice, it really shaped who I am today. I didn't know anything else. I didn't know to go to Disney for the summer. I didn't know like that wasn't our world. It was your neighborhood. And
Well, you're a
so,
kid. You're a kid, and so it wasn't that long ago. But I had very similar roots, and I didn't know about Disney. I didn't even know the Disney movies back then at that time, and they're so big in people's lives. But what you did know about and you touched on was community and how you impact community and how your grandparents and your family were impacting community. Talk about that.
yeah, so it our typical my typical summer was, some of you know about this if you're from the South, was the revival circuit. Like we went to church. It was revivals. Like, and I would look forward to going with my grandparents because they would go almost every night during the summer. And so I would just look forward to that. Swimming lessons during the day, hang out with cousins for the rest of the day. And in the evenings, we would go to church. And so that's where I formed my community. That's where I met people. That's where we did Vacation Bible School. And then during the school year, same thing. We didn't have travel sports. We went to the local schools, the high schools and the middle schools, and that's where we played football. And I was a cheerleader and all of that other stuff. So I grew up in community, and it's so different now that we can just jump on a plane and be anywhere around the world. But back then, that was so distant. That was like,
And I'm
yeah.
sure in your hometown, like with mine, I'm sitting in my hometown now in a house I have here. While the charm is still here and it's very southern, and I know many of the people, I no longer know all of the people. When I was growing up here, it felt a lot smaller, I guess, in part because I lived on only one side of the town. It was segregated, by race. And now we spread across the town, and a lot of life has happened, natural disasters, COVID, that have changed who's here. So I would say it's changed a bit. But the core of what I grew up with is very much here, and the roots of it are
Right.
still strong and sprouting through other people's children. So
Yes.
I'm sure you find the same thing. Are you
I
often in
do.
Aiken?
I do. I do. I try to go back every other month because Augusta, Georgia is right across the bridge, and my sister's there. My mom's still in Aiken. My younger sister's in Aiken. So I try to get home just because it's not far from Atlanta. So if I'm headed to Atlanta, it's like I can just swing through there. So I try to get home every 2 or 3 months just to stay overnight sometimes. And I go to my sister's house, I just go straight back to her bedroom, and it's like I'm back to where I was. And it's just so calming. I love it.
Yeah, yeah, yeah. I mean, it's funny because we were just talking yesterday about the things we like to do when we get home. And my sister was saying, and you met Trish at one of
Hmm.
the
Hmm.
events we've attended together. Trish was saying, when I come home, the first thing I want to do is get my slow cooker out and do my, you're laughing already, and do my smoked neck bones with cabbage. And, you know, a couple of the people who came from California with us to Carolina were like, "What? Yeah, no." And let me
No.
tell you, girl, those couple of people were the last ones up from the table.
Let me tell you, I am laughing. I am dying laughing because this is the first week in a while I haven't traveled. And what did I make this morning? I pulled out my slow cooker and I put turkey in there and I put collard greens in there. And that is like the southern thing for me. I cannot wait to have that because it's comfort. And it does remind you of home. And rarely do I get to do that. And I was like, I'm going to do that today. So I am just dying laughing here. Like, does she really see what's in my kitchen? Like back there, can she see? Like,
No, I can't really see anything but you there. But seeing you, I know it's there. I mean, it's beautiful. And a lot of people are actually going back to eating that way as well because it's so healthy, too. A lot of times people relate to Southern food as being deep fried, right? It really wasn't the case when we were growing up. I mean, fried chicken was there
of
for
course,
real, okay?
of course.
And on Sunday, fried cornbread sometimes, but
Yes.
cornbread was as often baked in the oven. So yeah, and I think the roots and the nature and the naturalness of what we're talking about from how we grew up and how we work to keep that's really important to how we've sprouted as well. I mean, I'm sitting here and I'm thinking, wow, you and I have similar backgrounds, although mine started a lot earlier than yours did because you're a kitty. Um, Here you are now. You've been premier in banking and healthcare. You've brought so much to these roles, and you've made so much impact in the world through the organizations you've worked for and their choice of you to lead their businesses. And you've thought about how to do that. Not just, I remember you saying once, Kelley, and I'm paraquoting you here, I'm not quoting you,
Okay.
but what I took from it was that it was always important to you to make a great impact for the business. It was always of more importance to you to make a greater impact for the communities those businesses
Absolutely.
thrived through. Is
Absolutely.
is that from your southern roots? Is that you? Is I mean, let's lean in on that a little bit because that's not always. Let's be honest.
I
It's
know,
hard
right?
to do. It's hard
It
to do.
is. It is. And, again, I really feel that it came from just watching my community, watching my tribe, watching the women who raised me, the men who raised me, my cousins. And so when I'm committed to something, I'm looking at it from the space of who can this help? Who can this help? And I'm always down for the cause of the bigger picture. Like, and I will tell you, when I was on Wall Street, it gets very easy to begin to think about me, especially the higher up you go and the more money you make. Um, but
And you were in
something.
an eminent institution. I mean, you worked for one of the world's largest. So,
Yeah, yeah, yeah. And it's great, to be part of that top 200 people, executives out of 250,000 people, and, have your boss report to the CEO. So you had a lot of interaction with this huge leader. And it was, but something always stayed inside of me. And it's to your point, it's just how we were raised. And I think about today. And I sometimes I get sad because the world now, we have no boundaries. Before, we had our town was our boundary. And good, bad, or indifferent, we probably didn't know any different back then. But now you don't see a lot of people can say, my cousin lives down the street, my grandmother lives, 2 blocks over. I can walk to the park and hang out with my friends. It's becoming like extinct. Like it doesn't happen anymore. And even with my kids, I think one lives in Arizona, one is in South Carolina, but they have no desire to be around in a neighborhood with their cousins. Like that's just not it's not a thing anymore. So I do think that what's ingrained in us, Janice, is something that I would hope comes back at some point in time, but I don't see it that often, and it's sad. It's pretty sad.
it it can be. And if you here's a scenario for a lot of people. You grow up, you love it. In order to build your careers,
You have to
you
leave
do
it.
leave home. And then you establish new zip codes
Yeah.
and you pay taxes in new areas. And
Mm-hmm.
a lot of people can't keep the two homes, or they can't go back
No.
to the family the way you and I can. And so, like
Right.
you, I do. I have a special space in my heart for folk who cannot have that. And I think that's why so many people, one of the many reasons, so many, and a strong reason why so many people have established their virtual communities. And, they have friends who they've never touched physically. Um, you when you think about that, it leads me to the work you're doing now. I mean, you came into the TD Jakes Foundation. You came in to a foundation that was looking to expand itself, to build out and rebuild so much of what it was doing, and to do that dynamically. Basically, you kind of went ground up on a lot of it. So you had to bring a lot of those skills and create that community for people in a virtuosity. You don't have meetings where people are sitting in the same room all the time, and you're this new CEO who is looking at how you define not only growth at an exponential rate, but the coming together and the homeness. And speaking of homeness, and the building of homes. I mean, you talk about it. You came into this. Tell us how you found it and how you are lifting it. And you work. And let me say one more thing. You came in not under the shadow, but under the boom of a leader who many people know as a bishop, and many of them didn't know him as a chairman for
No.
all this incredible work that's occurring, maybe with church principles, but not in the church,
I know. Janice, it's surreal. I will say this, and my boys can attest to this. When I was in my early 20s, I mean, I started watching Bishop T.D. Jakes in the Potter's House, the Potter's Touch. I used to watch the Potter's Touch on TBN. I could not wait. It would come where I live. It would come on at 7:30 on Sundays and like 7 o'clock on Thursdays. Like I had to watch. And literally, he was like my virtual pastor. And I was very involved in church. I went to church, but when I found out about him and I read a couple of his books, I was just mesmerized. Like he is really bringing the word to life and it's applicable. Period. That's just it. And so, I would watch, and I never went to Women's Art Loose until the very last one when I was invited to be on his wife's panel, which is a whole thing. But I say that because if someone told me even 10 years ago that I would be doing this, I would say, no, not with him, not because like he's in Dallas, Texas, like that won't happen. But I tell you, there's always a bigger plan. And what I didn't know is that I was being prepared during all of my work for 37 years in different roles in healthcare and nonprofit as well as on Wall Street. I was being prepared to now serve at the helm of this amazing foundation called the TD Jakes Foundation. And literally, as I think back, I had to have studied him to be so passionate about his legacy and his wife's legacy living in the earth beyond them. And so that's what I've
Shout
been
out to
doing.
First Lady Sarita.
First Lady Sarita just had that gracious milestone birthday, Grace Under Fire. It was wonderful. We had 3 days of virtual interaction with her, and it was just great. So, you know, yeah, I grew up as I was a pew baby, grew up in the church. So my faith has grown over the years. Like anyone else, when you become an adult, that's when you really lean into it. And I would pull from everywhere, and that was one of the places. And so, what's so astounding, Janice, is that I'm coming to the end of my career in banking, and I was like, okay, listen, it's been 37 years. I'm not I'm not old enough to retire, but I am old enough to do something else. I can pivot. So I was preparing to pivot. And in that pivot, I didn't know what I was pivoting to. I just knew it was going to be a turn and I was going to sit for a minute and then figure life out. But once again, all you have to do is have a plan and just watch God laugh and go, okay, okay. And literally about a month into me preparing to leave the big banking job, I did receive a call from him. I had met him the year before. We worked on an amazing project with the bank I was working with. I sort of stepped back, gave it to the deal team, and walked away thinking that, wow, Kelley, that's your legacy. You helped introduce TD Jakes to the secular world and Wall Street and all of that, right? And I really thought that was my going to be my claim to fame, my little 5 minutes of fame. But little did I know that he was watching as well. God was watching and Bishop Jakes was watching. And at the end of putting the deal together, he called me and said, I really would love for you to come and run my foundation. When I tell you, Janice, and that was February of
And that's
2023.
because God was watching.
God was watching and he was organizing the pieces and literally had given me peace with wanting to leave the role that I was in.
Mhm.
Because if anyone, people who knew me back then would be like, she would never leave what she's doing.
Well,
She,
because you were so incredibly successful and you were
I
creating
was.
success for others as well.
Hmm.
I'm sure there was a shock wave that went through your immediate community, as well as to those who actually later learned what you walked away from
Yeah.
before they could see what you were walking into.
That's so good. You are so right. And I will tell you, it was blurry for me too, because I literally it happened so fast, literally from the initial call. Within 2 weeks, he made an offer, and nothing had never moved that fast in my career ever. And but the caveat was, and you have to move to Dallas, Texas. And I was like, who lives in Texas? Because I know anybody who lived in Texas. I was like, who lives in Texas? The Potter's house is in Texas, and so I said, I only go to Texas for conferences. And then so here I am in Dallas, Texas. It's been 2.5 years. When I started, we had 4 employees. Um, Beginning of June, we were up to about 37. And then I had to stare some things down and reassess some things. So now we're right at about 30. But it's really has been, to your point earlier, it has literally been 2.5 years of exponential growth, um, impact around the US and soon to be in other parts of the world. And just the work around transformation, STEAM, AI, returning citizens that have been formerly incarcerated, affordable housing, just everything. And I love the way Chairman says it, and we do call him Chairman Jakes because he is chairman of our board of directors, which lovely Janice sits on our board too, and we're so excited about that. And so, but literally, he says, I feel like this foundation, we're a public 501c3. We are not connected to the church. And so we're literally this standalone, and we're like, he said, I really want this to be our way of showing the feet of the gospel. And so that's what we're doing. We're literally the feet of the gospel. We are out impacting the world with our services, with our team, in communities, direct services to people, not many intermediaries. And so that's our day to day, and that's what keeps us going.
Wow, girl, that was really powerful. And people think, as I said, you walked into something that was wonderful and incredible by coming over to lead TD Jakes Foundation, and you certainly did. Life was happening before that, and you had a lot that you had to manage in order to make that happen, and a lot of personal sacrifice as well. And while it was a step up in your leadership, it necessarily needed to be a step out and a step away from a lot too. And I think it'll be helpful for some of our family to hear that, as far as you care to share, Kelly, because a lot of people are in places in their careers and their lives. And as you know, our family is strong on the 20 somethings and strong on the 60 somethings and everything in between, for them to be able to understand this regardless of where they are in their lives is going to be helpful to them in their lives.
Yeah, JBH, it's I've had this wonderful, beautiful career. But like anything else under the surface, it's just such a rocky road at times. I can tell just numerous times where I've hit a wall. And accepting this job was truly something I would have never imagined. So I was on high there. But what crumbled was my personal life. I thought that everyone would be excited about this, but unfortunately, my husband at the time decided that this is not what he wanted. And so I literally, um, after coming to the conclusion that I needed to make a decision, the decision was to take the job and to really, because I felt like God had called me to this work, and I've never told God no. And, but in telling him yes, it's a lot that falls. It's a lot that's sacrificed. And I had sacrificed so much for so long for family, for my kids. My kids were now grown, out of college, and I knew I had one or two more big things to do career-wise. And this was one, and I just accepted the fact that I would end up doing this in in the physical by myself, but with God. And it was one of the hardest decisions I've had to make in a while. And so I found myself in the middle of building an amazing organization in a very lonely place personally. And so, yeah, it was as unexpected as getting a call from Chairman Jakes.
Yeah, yeah. And I think that's why it's so important for us to keep our hearts and our heads in stride with each other, and to be open and to listen and to hear where we're really intended to go. people look at you and they see incredible success. And yes, you are successful. You've not only paved the path for others, you've really ridden some rough road on your own to get there. I know that in an interview you said success really comes down to three things: education, exposure, and experience. And
Yeah.
oftentimes we think of that only in the rhythm of our academic or our professional lives. I think it's dynamically true that education, exposure, and experience in our personal lives are important. Why do you see those as the pillars, though, when you think about how they've shaped the way you are living and you're leading today and the big decisions as with to move forward with this role?
Yeah, well, if I think about all three of those, education, experience, and exposure, I've been blessed with all of those. And when I say blessed, I would never have thought that, during my career, during my education and my development, I would walk the halls of Harvard or, be educated through Cornell or through UC, walk the campuses of UC Berkeley. Like that's far from a little dirt road in Aiken, South Carolina. And, God has always prepared the way for me to step into. And I am so sold out for what He needs for me to do in this generation that I die to self daily. And that's the piece that it's hard. It's hard to make that decision. That's definitely one of those hard and heart decisions. Um, but this role that I have is truly one of a lifetime. I am only the second president and CEO of this organization. And I hope that I can help. You have someone that's such iconic and a legacy at every corner of the earth, and they're asking you to help them remain in the earth beyond their existence. Who asked you to do that, that has such reach, that has such transformation, and that God has just used as a vessel? Then I have no choice but to say yes, because it is continuing what is to be. And so my education, my experience, my exposure just allowed me to say yes and continues to allow me to say yes. I've met great people like you. I've met people over the past 2 years I would have never met being in the role that I was in before, if so, not in such a short period of time. And so it is a blessing. It's the weight of a blessing. I've heard that mentioned before. People call it the weight of a blessing. And so but I receive that. And there are a lot of lonely days, there are a lot of lonely nights. Um, However, the next day is always packed with something transformational. So that's what I hold on to. But
And
yeah,
you talk about that team that you've got to just that perfect size for now to lead you and the organization toward the tomorrow you want. And we can give a shout out to Miss Hattie Hill, who was the first CEO, because when we talk about you working to expand the foundation into larger and wider avenues and halls, and literally avenues and halls, right?
yes,
Building homes and building buildings. Um, she did so much to shape it for you to come in and be able to do what you're doing. You leaning into the side on education, which has just thematically throughout your life been so important, whether it was the education at the knees of the grandmas and the aunties, whether it was the education in the Ivy Leagues, or importantly, and I think all of that only readied you, as you said, for the education to work for one of the world's greatest teachers, and that is Chairman T.D. Jakes. When we think about that, you've had to bring some things in. As you said, he was watching you all the time you were watching him. What are some of the things you learned outside of the church in places like Wells Fargo that helped you to understand how to scale ideas, how to sit at the table with top leaders? Because that's basically a large part of the role and the requirement that you've accepted. People say, okay, we walk by faith, right? But
Right.
faith without works is dead. What are
Absolutely.
some of the lessons you learned from the experience you took from those roles that were not necessarily in the church, even though you were of the church?
Yeah, that's an awesome question. And someone asked me something similar the other day, and I know for a fact that just the school of hard knocks in corporate America. And so my background includes a master's in human resources. And I spent a lot of time building teams. I spent a lot of time hiring. I remember we had to get to 90 people on a line in a line of business, and that was like hundreds of interviews. So learning talent and learning when it's time to change the lineup of the talent is something I definitely bring to the table. Also, strategic thinking, scenario planning, all of those things that you learn in order to run a business and to see quarter over quarter earnings, like you have to know when to pivot. You have to know if something's not working, you have to shift it. You don't have the luxury of waiting and waiting and waiting when you're on the for-profit side. And so that sense of urgency is something that I bring, and it aligns nicely with Chairman Jakes because he will pivot in a minute. And so, and I actually like that. The innovation that comes with the pivot is something that I bring as well. I was with a bank before it was a big bank. It was bought by Wells Fargo, but I was with a bank early on, and I remember literally a campaign not working and a group of us being in a room and saying a new campaign has to roll out in the morning. In the morning, like stock, it's dropping, the price is dropping of stock, so we've got to do. And I'm like, oh my gosh, So, and I still get the adrenaline rush. But so that those are things that I bring. And then also just understanding, to your point, how to sit in a boardroom, how to, be with the best of the best in New York City, and then going back to a Boys and Girls Club that sits in the inner city and having those conversations, because I used to be that person that would receive free and reduced lunch at school and the summer feeding program. So like that pivot and the switching of hats is something that I learned to do really, really well, and I've had to bring into this role.
And I think so many people who are listening to you right now, so many members of our family are realizing that they're having to do that, whether it's a pivot around the actual work they're doing or the investments they're making or just their thought processes being able, and that sometimes is the hardest pivot to make. Is to pivot a thought process because you've leaned in on it and it kind of frames who you are for everything. Perhaps that you, and I know it's important and has been true for me, Kelley, have shared so often that faith and community are the constant threads in your life. We talked about your roots and your summers in South Carolina. How do you think those values are guiding decisions that you're making as a leader today, not just inside the foundation, but leading the foundation inside of a bigger and broader world? Remember, and maybe it'll be helpful just to step back and talk about what is the vision of the foundation so we can understand the work you're doing in the community and with businesses.
Yes, so that is a great segue because when I came, and to your point, Hattie Hill, she had the work of really standing this up, right? They started a month before COVID. So she had to like push this through COVID. And I picked it up on the other side. And so, when I got here, I was asking Chairman, like, what is your vision? Like, and he was like, well, what is your vision? And I was like, okay. What is my vision for your foundation? Wow. And so I came up with something, I don't know, but literally it's funny because it took us about a year to work with, and you were part of that process, part of the strategic planning process on truly what is the vision in this man's head. And what we landed on is really something simple yet very bold, and it's a world where every community thrives.
Hmm.
That is what we hope to do, help create this world where every community, any place you step out of in the world, you feel safe, you feel like you can thrive, you feel like employment is available, housing is available, food security is there. And so with that, then we break it up into three areas. In order to do that, you need to understand financial education, financial inclusion. You need to be upskilled. You need to understand your workforce readiness. Is it time for you to pivot? And then your educational access in that. Do you need certifications? Do you need to go back to school? Is it just a 3-day intensive? Like, how do we go into communities that help people assess what do they need to upskill where they are to make more money? And then also
To
the
earn
last
more
pillar,
money, to earn more money. Go to
to
jail
earn.
for making money, earning
Yeah,
money.
earn more money. Absolutely. And I always say, how do you do it? How can you create a plan to move your family's trajectory
Yes.
financially? Like you said, to earn it
And
financially.
the work that you're doing is so incredible. I mean, I thought I had a familiarity, even a closeness to the many communities that form the community of of Bishop Jakes and the and First Lady Sarita Jakes through the church. Once I learned the work of the foundation and how it operates separately to uplift businesses and communities, and to learn the quality, the value, the
Hmm.
skills, and the excellence of the people who are not only contributing to this, but who are benefiting from it.
Hmm.
It blew my mind because so often we do think when we associate something from the church of
Hmm.
those people who are in the direst of need. This foundation is helping people who already have done some readiness preparing, who have
Yes.
education, and who are looking to go to the next level. And I think that's one of the things that I
Hmm.
admire so much about the foundation, having the
Amazing.
vision and your leadership to help people go from management to that next level in an
Hmm.
office, or having people go from the condo to the house with the little plot of land in the back or the bigger plot. You're doing work that is really incredible that I don't think is as transparent to people who might otherwise want to catch fire with what's going on as well.
Yeah, and I mean, you just summed it up really well. And I love to throw statistics out there. So, to help people sort of crystallize in their minds, like, what is this foundation? We do have quite a few programs inside of the foundation that once lived in the church. One is our reentry program, which is the Texas Offenders Reentry Initiative, which we've changed its name because now it's a national program. It's
Yeah.
called Thriving Opportunities for Returning Individuals. We kept
And a lot of
totally
people are asking for
twisted
your
it.
help to replicate that.
Yes, yes, and so that sat in the church for 18 years before it hit the foundation. It was with us at 20 years, and at that mark, Janet, JBH, I will say I am just blown away. 42,000 people have gone through that program. The success of our secret sauce is 6 areas we work on, their family unification being in the center of it, and then their mental health and their faith. Then surround that with your financial needs. You need a job, you need a car, you need a place to live. We focus for 12 to 18 months on that laser focus with their family. The national recidivism rate is 77% the last time we checked, which means in 1 to 3 years, those same people could return to prison. For ours, it's 17%.
When
It is
I
17%.
when I learned that, it blew my mind because it's not just about only
Mm-mm.
17% of those people reenter, and we don't even look at the reentry of it to the degree as well, right? I mean, some of
No,
it is
no.
minor reentry, but reentry
Right.
is reentry. But when you think about the people, what we're also saying is that these people aren't only not going back into the legal system, they are working, they are
Yeah.
core in the family because you center it from family and you expand it to be framed within the work and the upskilling that occurs for them. And some of these folks are now leading families and owning homes in
Yes.
ways that were not thought for them before
Yeah.
this. And that's just one program.
That's
That's
just
just
one
one
program.
program
That's just
that's happening
one.
under your leadership.
Yeah, it's great. And then, of course, with the babies, we say the babies, ages 5 and up, we are constantly teaching them about STEAM, STEM. AI is the big ticket now, coding, the whole virtual reality. And some of the kids that come to our camps, our pop-up camps or our expos, and they come with their families, and the families have just as much fun as they do. The dad, I love to get the testimonials from the dad and the mom. They're like, "Oh my gosh, this is amazing." And so, but it's really it's that exposure, the education, the experience when they can sit in a rocket, a pretend rocket ship, and then they go back and see it on TV and go, I know the gadgets that were inside of that. I might want to study that, you know? And so literally just exposing them. And then something really cool is we just launched a cybersecurity program for some of the people who were in the reentry program. And so we're constantly looking at the newest technology, the newest upskilling that we can bring to our direct the people that need the direct information. And so and we take it to the community. We are inside the heart of the community,
Mm, mm, mm.
inside the community. So it's
But
I
think
love
about
it.
this. Think about this. You're you're not only having the most outstanding success in the work you're doing with reentry for our people who we know and we love oftentimes in
Mhm.
these communities. You're working with babies and
Yeah.
you're working with cyber. I mean, all of that is under your leadership. Now, Kelley, these are programs that are strong individually. When we think about the aggregate of what you're doing, there are a lot of people who are challenged with a lot less, who may be creating or feeling a lot more stressed, or the lonely nights you spoke about,
Mhm.
when you've given so much to the day that you're
Mhm.
working in. They may not have your faith background. What's one of
Mhm.
the practices or principles they can lean on to stay grounded in their own leadership that you can offer them, regardless of whether they're working from a place, what we call faith based, or
Mhm.
wherever they're coming from? How can they get to the place that they can move forward and stay grounded in their leadership?
Continue to surround themselves with just hope. And hope looks like a really good friend. Hope can look like pulling back and resetting, and really thinking about what is your North Star? Like, really, why am I purpose to do? Why am I doing this? Like, and do I want to continue to do it? Always reassessing your why. I think I love that, reassessing your why. And I do it all the time. And I I always want to be doing what I know I'm designed to do. And people, if they really think about that, whether you're a person of faith or not, we're here for a purpose. And just ask yourself, am I feeling this way? Am I feeling really depleted? Because this is becoming more of a uphill battle to do. And there have been times when I knew it was time to do something different. I knew. Before I knew about this role, I had already made up in my mind, it's time to do something different. Like it's just time. And so sometimes you feel that, and then I mean, I just have some great friends, and all of them are not people of faith. They are just hilarious and they make me laugh. And I'll call them sometimes, and but they're good people, they're really good people. And so I would just say really just lean into the hope, and find you a circle that can really continue to lift you, or help you understand, help you see what you can't see. And that is, I would say, do that on a regular, like, because to your point earlier, things are moving so fast. so fast that what you were doing even 6 months ago might not be relevant to be doing right now. It's just,
And especially in the world, where we're seeing the introduction of technologies, whether it's AI or whatever, and people are like, oh, treating AI as it's new. It's new to them. It's been around since the early 50s, you know, and technology, even in front of that, much of the technology we use. So it was about time for us to look at it. Now, I think it's important how we look at it. And so this idea of hope, I think it's important for people to frame around all of the concerns and the requirements of their day-to-day lives, because folks are feeling a convergence of activities occurring in this world right now, and regardless of how they look at that, whether they're looking at that from their financial strings, their political strings, their personal strings, they're getting entangled. It's like my little grandson earlier today, and my daughter is taking up knitting and crocheting, and he was playing with the colors, and I said, oh my goodness, Kate, he's gonna, like, get that all in a knot. And she said, and won't it be fun to see him untangle himself, you know? And I thought about that. That's what you're doing. You're seeing people from all colors and shapes, and they may get entangled in knots, and you're helping them to free themselves and to untangle themselves. And I love that. You talked about the financial inclusion, education, and workforce readiness, as well as community transformation being so key at the foundation. These are things that I've seen you do from a distance, as with Bishop watching you before bringing you on under the leadership of the chairman, as chairman of the foundation. And I think that you are so successful across them all. We may give them equal gravity to you, but which one is feeling most urgent to you right now in the current state?
oh, I think if it's hard because it's a toss up between the upskilling, because I'm constantly being upskilled. I start my own huge AI session in a couple of weeks. Like my learning, it will be in a 6 week intensive. And I know a little bit, but I'm going really deep. I'm a little
Yeah.
afraid, but I'm excited about that. So I think the upskilling where
But girl, let me
you'll have,
tell you, you are going to love it, and it's really a measure of how you're getting work done than it is who's getting the work done. You are going to love it so much when you come out of there
can't wait.
empowered. And you know how you said how Bishop can, like, bring a new thing to life in a second and go
Yes.
go wean it and have it grow, or pivot and make this happen now and be thoughtful about how you close that. Girl, you're going to be saying, what you got for me? What you got for me, Chairman? What you got for me, Chairman? You're going to be rolling. Hey, you're going to be rolling.
I love it. I love it. I love it. So it's a toss up between that and I'm just a lifelong learner though. I love to learn. Simultaneously I'm taking another stock class. Like I want to learn more about ETFs and like all like I know a little bit, but I want to go deeper, like all of that. And then so it's that piece around workforce readiness and upskilling education, but also the financial education. I'm still learning. Like I love I tell people this story. I had a wealth advisor when I was thinking about filing for bankruptcy. That's when I found a person when I had nothing. And you remember those days, JBH, like when you're trying to put the pieces together. And my kids were little, and and my friend was like, "You need a wealth advisor." I said, "I don't have any money." She's like, you need to understand what wealth is." And literally, I've had the same person for over 20 years, and I've learned so much from her, and I'm still learning. So I say that I'm really passionate about people having a healthy relationship with money, like understanding really what money is, what it isn't, what's healthy debt, what's bad debt, like how can you take something and leverage it and multiply it? Like, and you're definitely the poster child for that, JBH. Like you grew a business, like, and I think it was like $200 you started with. Like it was just, and your story is phenomenal, but you had a relationship. you garnered a strong relationship with money over time. And I think that's really important for people from underinvested communities to understand what that means. And
You're
we're not
right.
taught.
You're right, Kelly. Often, and it's a goodness that often so many people from all of our communities, wherever we're coming from, the best they get to is to earn enough money to raise a family and
Mhm.
retire in some relative comfort. They've depended on a lot of systems
Yes.
and programs historically that aren't there tomorrow. And so you've got a lot of people who are in front of retirement who set out with the right goal of earning enough money to get there.
Hmm.
What we're talking about, you and I, is not only earning enough money to get there, earning enough money to, and then learning to have your money earn money for you.
Right.
And that then you're not as dependent on the programs. And many of us have had successful lives from our communities, our families, and our friends who really thought themselves independent successes. They were leaning on a lot of federal, a lot of
Yep.
corporate, a lot of local
Hmm.
programs
Yep.
in the accumulation of how they were able to do that. And if not directly for themselves, for people in their family circle who now they will need to take responsibility for. A lot of the programs that fed to the disabled that are no longer there. Now that care falls on families. So the important, and we can give example after example,
Absolutely.
what we're talking about here is that financial independence that can only be achieved by learning to have your money earn money. And with technology, you don't really have to have a lot of money to begin having your money earn
Work for you.
money. You
It
come from the
is. It
money space.
is.
I mean, you can teach that day and night already, even
I
before the
can.
classes you're taking. And so, if
Yeah.
you are taking classes, that means that this is an evolving thing. That means that
Hmm.
this is something that maybe new regulations or new allowances have altered the
Hmm.
way you did it 7 years ago, 17 years ago.
Hmm.
And
Hmm.
so I just love what you're doing. I think it's incredible that you're upskilling yourself, even as you're upskilling the communities that you serve.
Hmm.
I got one for you though, because on your podcast, Life plus Leadership Unplugged, Life and Leadership Unplugged,
Right.
right?
Yes.
Kelly, you often come back to the idea of legacy leadership, and money earning money is a part of creating legacy leadership. When do you think about the leaders who shaped you and the qualities they modeled that you're now attempting to pass on to others? And, some of these were leaders who didn't have money earning money. Some of them may have not been earning that much themselves. Others were some of the wealthiest in the world when you're working in corporations. What
Hmm.
did they share that were lessons that you can pass on?
Yeah, I know that just growing up in community, and I hear bishops talk about this all the time. He's like, I didn't know we were poor. Like we were loved, so I didn't know we were poor. You know what I
Same
mean? Like
here,
that was.
same here,
I thought that. Now I know some of my friends lived on the other side of town, and their houses were 20 times the size, but I didn't. They would just drop me off, and I was like, okay. I went in the house. We had food. It was great. Like we loved each other. We were warm. The lights were on. So I
and you
didn't.
had enough to give somebody else something.
Absolutely. Anybody can come
Mhm,
by any time of
mhm,
day. Like just,
mhm,
and so I think that what I learned then was it's not about all the time, it's not about the money, your quality of life and who's around you. That's what I took from growing up the way that I grew up. And I
mhm,
also, both my grandmothers were back then they call them domestics, and
mhm,
but they had businesses on the side. One sold beauty products,
mhm.
and the other one, she
Side
was like,
hustles, baby.
yes, yes, they had those side hustles going, and one was part of a choir, and they would go around and do whatever. And so They always had other money coming in. They had their main job, but I watched them on the weekends. I would love to go with them out to the country to sell the products and give them to the
Mhm.
people. Like it was just like a whole thing. So I
And a
learned
little gardening bag that helped feed the family that we pay so much
much
for
more.
now that they were growing in the back.
And they give you this nice basket of fresh vegetables and fruit, stuff like that. I was like, okay. So I learned entrepreneurship early on. I learned that it took more than one stream of income
Mhm.
to live. And then if I fast forward and being on the 79th floor of a building in New York City with the CEO sitting around the corner, peeping his head in every once in a while, you're
Knowing you
like,
by name and asking what
that's
you did
right.
this weekend or how did that thing you were going to do
That's
turn out. That kind of relationship.
that's right. That's right. You see the planes go by, you're like, wow, this it's really high up here. And so, but it was learning also just leadership, like having to make those hard decisions that weren't always popular, that
Mhm.
just weren't always popular, and knowing that the accountability stops with you
Mhm.
as the leader. I learned so much about accountability. I learned about creating infrastructure. I just learned just some from the great people. And they weren't the nicest,
Mhm.
but they just knew business. And I learned business acumen and executive presence and, when to fall back, when to lean in, just the whole gravitas around the business world, right? And so, and learning how to come into a boardroom and when not, and how long to stay, and when it's your time, and what, like all the nuances that I didn't learn in college that I had to learn by being around top executives. And it always fascinated me, but it never intimidated me, ever.
I love that so much. And, I think that may come from some of that Ruth strength that you have, leaning back into our faith relationship. Something you did, though, in March of this year is incredible because you made history as the first woman in 152 years to serve as vice chair of the Board of Trustees at Wiley University. First of all, let me just applaud that for you and for the university. While it's a huge, incredible achievement of yours, it's a far better achievement of the university that they got you. And just looking at your smile and knowing all of the years and all of the work that came in front of that for you, what does that moment represent to you? And what do you hope it signals to all people who are coming up behind you who may not see that touch of a Wiley University leadership role in front
Wow.
of them?
Well, first of all, so a good friend of mine is one of the leaders at Wiley University, and she knew when I moved to Texas, she's like, "I've got to get you at Wiley," and I was like, "Wiley?" And then I researched. I said, "The great debaters, like Denzel Washington, like that Wiley?" She's like, "Yes," and so I went in with eyes wide open, there to serve. Number one, to help her. I was like, "Just tell me what you need." And um, I didn't know until I got a call 2 years into my trustee role from the chair at the time to say, we would like for you to consider this as being
Mhm.
the chairwoman of the board. And by the way, we've never had one. And at first I was like, really? You have? They're like, no. And then my heart just
Let's
like
debate that.
skipped a beat, like, wow, there's still opportunity in what was 2025, like this year, to continue to make a difference and continue to trailblaze. And I just stopped. I was like, wow, God, thank you for once again pointing to me to say, I need for you to be this vessel to do this. I just thought it was incredible. And so I laughed a couple of meetings afterwards. We would go through our board stuff. And I'm a very direct person. You know me, JBH. I mean,
Yeah.
I can do it, but I'm just like, what are we doing? And so I said, you guys, you may want to reconsider me becoming chair. Like, I don't know. I,
You get all of me.
that's right. I be careful what you ask for,
I
because
ain't
some
leaving
people.
nothing home today.
So they laugh, but it's definitely it's a turning point for Wiley. And they mentioned it at graduation and a couple of other events, and people were just like on their feet, like,
They were
wow.
thrilled.
Yes, yes. And so I'm honored. I'm privileged. It's a volunteer seat, and I was the first one in my family not to go to an HBCU. So this really feels like I love to wear the hat and say I'm
Yeah.
at a HBCU,
Yeah,
So
yeah, yeah,
yeah,
yeah.
yeah.
Oh,
So, but it's an
girl. Oh, my
honor.
goodness. Next, we'll be celebrating you as part of the D9. We got to figure that
Hey,
one out. We got to figure that one out.
yes, we figured that out. And congratulations to you. And congratulations to you. I was like, see, I need to be just like her. And that's how I need to kind of, yes.
Hey, girl, everybody wanted to be in our line. Everybody wanted to be in our class. I mean, my good friend, Phyllis Newhouse, who went in before me, recruit before me, and she had an impressive line as well. And people on her line were friends of mine. She was saying, your line, girl. I said, Phyllis, you better get back over there. It's that kind of camaraderie. It's that kind of love. And
Yeah.
I think that you bring that in bundles.
Mm,
And more
thank
importantly, I just
you.
think that what you're bringing to the world is incredible. Um,
Thank you.
Kelley, before we go to 4 for 4,
Yes.
please just share if anybody's listening in our family right now who wants to lead with purpose themselves and they still are looking for that one thing that they can do, improve on, think differently, or whatever. What's that thing you hope they carry from your own life story?
Hmm. I hope they carry a couple of things. I know you said one, but one is curiosity. Like always, there's always a bigger plan. And I had a chance to years ago to spend a day with Steve Forbes, and he said, we are talking about something. He said, always know there's a bigger story. So just being curious to know what is the bigger story? What is the so what about this what? I think that lean into that curiosity, and then at the same time being true to who you are. It's, that skates down the whole path of integrity and knowing what you will compromise and what you won't. And those are the things that can lead you to a very lonely place at times. And
You
so,
you really sum that up beautifully. And one of the life lessons I often teach, and people will see me passing through an airport or leaning across an aisle at a convention, and they'll say, never compromise who you are personally to become who you wish to be professionally. And that's the thing that I teach, and I just believe it. And yes, it can get lonely sometimes, but joy cometh in the morning. It can
always.
get lonely in those evenings, but joy cometh in the morning. And when
Oh,
I think of you, I think of joy despite it all, you
thank you.
know?
And I
And,
do
and,
too.
and I'm just so honored, so grateful, so excited that you joined us and this Ask JVH family. You ready to
Yes.
go 4 for 4?
I am ready to go 4 for 4. And I think I
Okay.
remember them all, but I'm going to grab my notes because I
Okay.
practiced
So
this. I
you
practiced this.
did your homework. You're
I
the
did my
education
homework.
lady.
I
You're
did
the
my homework.
education lady.
I'm a
Yeah.
lifelong learner. I did my
Hey,
homework.
hey. Okay. So I'm going to ask you 4 questions. You're going to give me
Okay.
4 answers to each. There are no right or wrong answers to anything, except with the first one, where I ask you. Uh, I give you the opportunity to host dinner for 4 people from any time past or present. The only wrong answer would be if it's not a human person. Okay, we're looking for humans now, not the humanoids. Okay,
Okay.
because I know Guess is dealing with some stuff right now with those AI generated models that they put out there, and those young
No.
ladies are looking fabulous and everything. But folks are fussing and saying, "I'm a Guess customer. I don't look like that. I'm fabulous." So I'm not even going to try to crack that egg in your kitchen,
I
okay?
know, right? I
I
love
just
it.
want
I
to
love it.
know who's at your table and why.
So when I had a chance to really think about this, I started with my grandmother on my mother's side, my maternal grandmother, Clara Key. She died when I was a freshman in
Oh, I love her name.
college.
I love her
Yep,
name.
Clara Key. Yes, she was amazing. I adored my grandmother, and I wish that I could have dinner with her right now at the age I am right now to just glean wisdom, like to hear from her at a very different age that I am now than I was when she passed away. So that's one. The other, so I have two men and two women. The second woman is Coretta Scott King. I just feel like she was a portrait of grace, and the more I learn about her life, I realize that she had to have some hard yeses. She did a lot. She said yes to some things that she really had to push through, and but she did, and she just did it, and she just left this place a better place, for so many women. She was a trailblazer. Just, you talk about stick to itiveness through it all. So that's what I love about her. Would love to have dinner with her. And then I have two guys.
And,
So
and,
I,
and her husband has been invited to the table, and now she's invited. I think you're the first to invite her to the to a table.
man, I would be, I wouldn't say a word. I would just take
Mm,
it all in. I would be a sponge the whole time.
mm, mm.
And then two guys, I think this is interesting. So I would love to have dinner with Matt Damon. So if anybody knows Matt Damon, like, so I'm a huge Jason Bourne fan. So I just love Matt Damon. I just, if I could just sit down and just talk to me about Jason Bourne, about when you did the Wall Street role, when you did so many things, or you did Titanic, like, I just help me to understand your life. So
And there's so much opportunity for Matt Damon to do so much that he cares about through knowing what you're doing and how you're living your life. So we're going to put that in the Nathan Gina universe and
in the
make sure
universe.
that Matt hears this part of your dinner table plans. Okay.
That's right. And then the other guy that I just think is so true to who he is, and he shows up so strong as an actor, is Sterling Brown. Sterling Brown, I was introduced to him from, This Is Us, and now I'm just like hooked on Paradise, the show on Hulu, and Disney and Hulu, and he is, he's just so real, and I can tell just the relationship I see with him and his wife when they're on and they're talking, like, he is who he is all the time,
And
and
he's always
so
mindful of what his mama said.
his that's right.
He'll speak out loud and proud about what his mama said.
Yes, yes. It's just so real. Like, I would love to just sit down and just like have a conversation. Like, let's just talk,
Girl, what
So,
you serving at this dinner? I mean, I don't typically ask this, but what you serving at this dinner?
well, it all depends on who it is. It all
Mm,
depends
mm.
on who it is.
Yeah,
So, or, it could be just, I don't know, it could be potluck. They would
yeah.
just be like, I don't know, I see salmon over here, but then
Ooh.
I see a little bit of, I don't know, chicken over here, or steak, or, surf and turf. Like, I don't know. So it all depends on who it
So,
is.
so,
So
so, so here's what we're gonna do, okay? Kelly, you and I are gonna hook up on another Ask JBH podcast, and we're gonna be cooking in the kitchen,
let's
okay?
do it. Let's
And
do it.
I'm gonna go to my kitchen, and you gonna be in your
My
kitchen,
kitchen.
and you gonna cook. I'm gonna cook, and then we gonna sit down and we gonna potluck it together.
I love it. Let's do it. That would be
Okay,
absolutely amazing. That would be absolutely
okay,
amazing. So
okay.
those are
We'll have
my
to do
four
it
people.
sometime late in the year when everybody else in that circle that we service by day are taking their vacations.
That's right. That's right. That's right. When the world shuts down for a second. Yes.
And that's when we'll get together. So it's a date, okay?
It's a date.
All righty. We'll put a time to it.
Yes.
What four pieces of music are you listening to and why?
Okay, so I'll start with my faith world, Maverick City. I love Maverick City. Chandler more. I love the new. Let me tell you what I really first. I love the music, but I also love to see this younger generation just serving it for God, like just giving God all they have with Maverick City, man. They are just explosive on fire,
Yeah.
and it's just a new sound that gives hope. So I love Maverick City.
Mhm.
I love Jill Scott. Jill Scott is
Mhm.
one of my faves.
Mhm.
I lived in Philly
Mhm.
for a while, so Jilly from Philly, like love her. I love Anthony Hamilton, like from an
Mhm.
R&B
Mhm.
perspective. I got to
Good
see him
old
in
son of mine.
concert.
Mhm.
Got to see him in concert. He doesn't know he's going to
Mhm.
come and sing at one of my birthday parties, so I'm putting that out there. Putting that out there, Anthony Hamilton. So, and then I was on a plane and I started watching a documentary, and for the first time I watched a documentary on Luther Vandross.
Mm.
And I thought I had no idea. Like he started on Sesame Street. Like I
Yeah,
just his
yeah, yeah.
story and then the heart part of his life.
Mhm.
And so it is makes since I have his CD collections. I still have a CD player. I listen to him and now I listen in a different way, and just like what he was going through while pleasing the world is
Mhm.
just, yeah, his story. So those are my four right now.
One of the things that I lament is that he didn't live long enough for me to hear him do an opera.
Yeah, no, I had a chance to see him in concert with Whitney Houston when I was in college, and I just thought I had arrived. That was amazing. So, to your point, I just gone too soon. I think he was 52, gone too soon, and so, but his music was amazing. It still is, and it'll forever be classical.
Yeah, girl, I love Luther too. My sister Linda adores Luther. One of the things that I lament from time to time is that I never got to hear him sing an opera, because in front of
Mm,
an orchestra, he was incredible, and he was so demanding of his musicians and his singers,
yes,
and everything that he delivered with excellence. And it didn't matter where he was delivering it, whether it was in London at one of their great philharmonic, or whether it was on a stage in North Carolina with my family sitting second row center shouting, Lupa, Lupa. You know? Yeah, yeah. I would have loved to seen him live that through. I think that he gave us songs that, along with some of the other great singers, that live in our hearts
yes,
forever.
forever, forever.
Yeah,
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 yeah.
yeah.
Okay, what four books do you advise our family to read and why?
Okay, so, and these really resonate with the conversation we've had. And the first one is Start with Why by Simon Sinek. I
Mm-hmm,
love just the like why you're doing what you're doing. Just
mm-hmm.
understanding your why personally and in business every day. The next one is an old one, but a good one. An oldie but goodie is Who Moved My Cheese? By Dr. Spencer Johnson. That is
That was
simple.
every corporate read.
Every corporate, and I still feel like once a year people need to go back and read that. It's
Mm-hmm.
just something about it. It's easy and it's impactful, meaningful. And by the way, my team has read both of these. Um, the other one is called From Strength to Strength by Arthur
Oh yeah,
Brooks. Yes,
yeah,
so
yeah.
just talk about the different stages of your life and why the older generation is important to the younger generation and vice versa, and like where you are in your strength, and what you need to be giving to a team in what season. I just love that. And then finally, one of my favorites is When Women Pray by T.D. Jakes. Let me tell you, enough said, but let me tell you, I was teaching that book. We were doing a women's Bible study. The same time I ended up getting a call from him. I was like, you're kidding me right now. And so I got to fly to Dallas during all of this. And he autographed the books, and I was able to take them back, like a few books. In our last class, I was able to give them out. And people were blown away. They're like, did he really sign this? I was like, yes, he did. So yeah, it was, yeah. So it's just so meaningful and it was written during COVID, and just how he just really talked about how women just push through, right? And so those are my four.
Girl, Kelley, you've got me feeling like I want to call John Legend and say, do I have your permission to just start shouting out glory, glory, and just singing it. Okay, we're going to go 4 for 4. What 4 pieces of advice do you share with our family right now? And if it's advice that was given to you, please pay homage to the author.
Absolutely. So the first three, I sort of, well, two. The first three is just the first two are ones that I just lean into, and I just tell myself, surround yourself with people who challenge and inspire you. I just always just you have to have that that those wind
Mm-hmm.
beneath your
That
wings.
lift,
Yes, that
lift.
will lift you. And then the other one that I really feel strongly about is remember your purpose is bigger than your position. And I talked about that earlier, like what is your purpose? It has nothing to do with the title. It's like, what is your purpose? And I have friends now, they'll call me like, I'm not sure what my purpose is anymore, so, and we talk about that. But the last two I received,
Before you go there, though, remembering your purpose is bigger than your position, may I please applaud you on your team members because everyone who touched the experience that my executive aide, Christy, and I had when we recently were together, was so incredible. And I was trying to put my finger on how to describe it,
mm,
and you just gave it to me. They understood that their purpose was bigger than each of their positions, and they lived that. They exampled that to me. They exampled that to, I think, everybody they came into contact with.
thank you.
Christy and I had such a better experience and such enjoyable memories we'll keep because of how they were with us. So thank you for that.
You're so welcome. You're so welcome. Thank you. And I will take that back to them. They will be so excited. And then the next one,
Especially that handsome, fine young man who was escorting us all over the place. I'm not calling his name out because I didn't get permission, but you know who I'm talking with.
I
He
do.
stayed with us right up until the end. He took beautiful care of us. He gave us white glove care and he
Yeah.
gave us old Southern love while he did it. So
Yes.
enough said, enough said, enough said.
I do have a great team. You're so right. You're so right. The other one, a friend of mine, she was a mentor, about 15 years older than me. I met her when I lived in Sarasota, Florida. And God bless her, she passed away from breast cancer. But she used to tell, and I don't know if this is someone else who said it, but she used to tell me all the time. I used to get all frazzled. She says, Kelley, always take the high road because it never runs out. It never runs out. Like always take when you're at a crossroads, do you say this? Do you go to take the high road? It will never run out. It's enough highway there for you to stay on
Yeah,
forever. So I
yeah.
would say that always take the high road. It never runs out. And then finally, my boss, Bishop Chairman Jakes, I was trying to get him to do something. I was a little nervous about speaking or doing something. And he told me, he said, no, you're ready for this. He said, never give your power away. Never give your power away. He said, you've
Mm.
got the power to deliver this message. Don't give it to me. You do it. Never give your power away. And so those are the four things that just resonate with me, especially in those moments when I'm doubting myself or I'm just feeling some kind of way. Yeah.
This has just been such a beautiful experience with you. I
Thank
mean,
you.
I was looking at you at the dinner that night and how you were when you and First Lady hugged each other and you just stood along the wall and just you were as welcoming to people as they were leaving as you were when they were coming to the dinner. And I
Yeah.
thought to myself, she has joined a family that was intended to be,
Mm,
you know? And
mm-hmm,
the beauty, the
mm-hmm,
grace, and the purpose
The purpose.
that you bring to the role you have. I
Hmm.
just really want to thank you for it on behalf of the millions and millions of people across this globe who benefited from work you've done. They don't know your name,
Mm.
but they certainly know your impact. And I'm so grateful to you for joining the family of Ask JBH. We're going to have that kitchen date, kitchen to
I
kitchen,
love
okay?
it.
That's what I'm gonna name it. So
Kitchen to
Nathan, you
kitchen.
get out there, you tell Trish to get the ownership to it because it's gonna be
Kitchen to
kitchen to
kitchen.
kitchen,
Let's do
okay?
it.
And Kelley, we're gonna kick it off.
I love it. I'm ready whenever you are. That would be a great. It would be a great reset. It would be a great time
Yes,
away. So yes.
yes, it will. Yes, it will.
Thank you so
Girl,
much.
from my heart to your home, God bless. Thank you.
Love you. Thank you so much.